Hey Buns, today I want to talk about this most recent step for the Shadowbringers relic, and I want to kind of share how I think my perspective on it has changed as I've spent some time thinking about it and heard some comments from Yoshida on just the general topic of different types of gameplay content in Final Fantasy XIV. Previously, I made a video about my concerns about the Bajan Southern Front. Those concerns are still very, very real. You know, I felt like I've seen the Bajan Southern Front die out and people become less active in there. It's been harder to get runs for Castrum going. Those are all real concerns I have, and in that video I had blamed a lot of that problem on the fact that the relic weapon is not tied to the Bajan Southern Front, and you can much more efficiently get your relic weapon done outside of Baja. From what I heard, it takes about 3 hours to get your relic weapon done in the Heavensward Fate farming, and 9 hours or more to do that in the Bajan Southern Front. Now, I was really critical about this, and I think that I still am in a way, but now I'm starting to understand better why it has. That was actually not like an oversight, but a deliberate decision. Because I think it does have some broad implications for what Final Fantasy XIV is as a game and the design philosophy that permeates the entire game and that is consistent throughout the whole game, and that I don't think is necessarily a bad design philosophy too. So one of the things that got my wheels turning about this and got me thinking about this in a different way was this interview from MMORPG.com where they were talking to Naoki Yoshida about a lot of various things. And what's funny is that this question that was asked of Yoshida was not about Baja. It was not about the relic at all, but he said something that seemed to me a little bit out of left field, that seemed not really related to the question. I mean, it is related to the question, but I took this and I have since not been able to stop thinking about it, and I've sort of seen how this theory behind what he said, you could extrapolate that into a lot of different areas of the game and better understand some of the design decisions that they make. He had been asked about Domin Mahjong. Actually, they said that the live letter team mentioned the changes that are coming for Domin Mahjong, especially UI changes and the addition of Quick Match. What trends or feedback have you noticed that drove this update? And out of curiosity, are any developers regular Domin Mahjong players? So yeah, this is about Mahjong. Really, that's like way out of my area of expertise. I don't really play Mahjong. I don't have any interest in playing Mahjong. But his answer was very telling and interesting indeed. At least the first part. He said, Final Fantasy XIV has many different types of gameplay content, including content that encourages you to play them on a daily or weekly basis. This can also translate to a lot of content which players may feel they are obligated to do. Everyone is busy with their lives outside of the game, and so they tend to subconsciously think about how much time each piece of content will take. Content which takes up a lot of time to complete, regardless of how fun it can be, tends to attract fewer participants. I'll repeat that last part. Content which takes up a lot of time to complete, regardless of how fun it can be, tends to attract fewer participants. Now, he's speaking from the perspective of director and producer. One of his main jobs is to make sure that content gets made for the game that everybody's going to want to do, or at least a lot of people are going to want to do. Because if you spend a lot of time and resources on a piece of content and then not a lot of people do it at all, that's not going to look good, at a meeting with higher ups when assessing, was this a good expenditure of our resources and our time and our money? And so immediately when I read this, I thought about the relic weapon questline for Shadowbringers and how much easier it has been than any relic ever before. And I also thought about how almost everybody I know has the relics. Everybody has participated in this content because it's been easy to do. Actually, I know a lot of people that have multiple relics. I think actually most people that I know have multiple relics because they've been so easy and quick to get. And that has drawn more people to it. And I can't say that that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, it's good to have more people engaged with the content, more people wanting to do it. And I think that this also is something that he's had in mind when building Bajan Southern Front and building the Relic Weapon questline after what happened with Eureka, because, you know, Eureka had a very, very rough start and it was very poorly received in the beginning. And I think that very severely hurt the participation numbers. And he had seen, you know, on his end from the like statistics and stuff, the number of players that were actually active at the time and the number of players that chose to go and participate in Eureka. I myself didn't. I myself waited until it had been significantly nerfed before I stepped into Eureka, because of it being well known at the time, especially in the beginning, as a tremendous grind, like a very, very, not just a grind, but like a soul crushing grind, like a very, very, a long and painful one. I think with the decision that he made to have the relic weapon the way that it is now, very easy to get through the Heavensward Fates and through the, you know, quick leveling roulettes after you finish that part, it has very likely led to some impressive numbers in like the actual participation for this relic this time around. And I would be very curious to see how participation for the Shadowbringers relic has compared to relic acquisition for previous expansions. But at the same time, the fact that it is quick and easy to get does take away something that's very special. And I think that's something that is important and can't be overlooked, especially when it comes to something like a relic. You know, a relic is supposed to be a bit of something that's can give you bragging rights. It's supposed to feel like something really special that you work towards, or at least that was what I used to believe. I think with every single person that I've talked to, even very, very casual players who told me that if it took much longer than it does now, they wouldn't participate. So there are people that are being targeted by this philosophy Yoshida has expressed here. Even those people have told me that they wish that it took a little longer, like a little bit longer, like maybe a couple of days longer, and wouldn't be upset if it took just a little bit longer. So as I've said previously, I do believe that the pendulum has swung way too far in the other direction. If the relic is no longer going to be that long grind that you will feel good about having done after you finally get the final stage, if that's not what we want to do with the relic anymore, like if all the future stages are going to be like this, then I think that there needs to be something else in the game to fill that niche for players who are, you know, casual in a sense, but still want to put the time in for days or weeks or however long a relic would traditionally take to get some item that has some status and has some coolness to it, just because it is, you know, takes that time investment. Like, I think that something like that needs to take its place. Like, something like that needs to exist. It doesn't necessarily have to be a weapon. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, you know, something that gives you a power upgrade, but maybe a mount, you know, maybe some kind of I don't even know it. Something that you could have on your character that you can be proud of having worked towards over a long period. I think that is an important thing to have in an MMO. But then again, it's like, well, in that case, would what Yoshida has warned about here still be true? That they would put in the resources to create that other thing that I just described, something that gives you some status that takes time to do. But then because it would be a longer process, less participants would be taking part. And then the number of people that actually went for that would not justify the resources that were put in to actually bring that thing to life. You know, that's the question he has to ask himself as director producer. If there is no long-term grind to replace what the relic has traditionally been, well, we still have the previous expansion relics to go for, and those still take a little bit of time to do. So, I mean, that is always going to be in the game. Those things are still goals that you can set for yourself and achieve. The thing is, Yoshida is keenly aware of this struggle, like this balance between making the content something that's attractive for lots and lots of people that want to do it, and the content that is, you know, attractive because it has some status and like it was a bit of an achievement for you to do. Like this is going to be a balancing act, it seems. And I remember Yoshida, when he was talking about Eureka, he said, actually if I found it, he said, yes, we created Eureka to allow players to relive certain elements of classic MMORPGs. That was sort of the experiment that Eureka was. It was supposed to be originally this like incredibly grindy area that, gives you the penalty for dying. First gen MMOs served as a lot of inspiration for what Eureka originally was, but Bajin Southern Front is not Eureka. And Bajin Southern Front and the associated relic were intended to be an evolution of that content that was made after learning the lessons that Eureka had taught. And clearly one of those lessons was, more than anything, at least from Yoshida's perspective, you need to get players interested in the content and participating in the content, or all of this resources and work and effort will not really have been worth it. If you think about the design philosophy for Final Fantasy XIV overall and how it is made to allow you to take breaks, it is made at its core to allow you to come in for the major content patches, leave, and then come back for the next major content patch. Like I constantly am referring back to this because it is so intrinsic to the way that the content is released in 14. If you think about it from that perspective, this type of a relic that is more quick and easy to get by design, it fits in better with this philosophy. I still strongly feel like there should be something like the traditional relic grind existing in the game that could fill that void, because I think it's an important part of the game that keeps people entertained in between the content patches. People that do want to put in the time between the major content patches, It's like, if everyone gets it and everyone has it, then it loses some value because everyone has it, so it's not as special. But if nobody is getting it, very few people are getting it and most people don't have it, it has a lot of value because it is special. But what's the point of the content if people aren't doing it? Aren't the game developers supposed to create content that everybody will want to do? Is it possible that there could be something that would attract a lot of people to do it, even if it took a long time? Is that a thing that could exist? Yoshida said that regardless of how fun it can be, if it takes a long time, less people will do it. It doesn't matter how fun it is. Is that really true? I don't know. I do not know. I'm not a game dev, but these are questions that I've been thinking about, and I would love to hear your opinions on it as well. Please let me know what you think about all this in the comment section down below. Is a middle ground possible? Could the relic have been taken a little bit longer, maybe at least a couple of days? Could the relic have taken place entirely in Basha? Let me know all of your opinions on this subject in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon or on Twitch. You can also support the channel for free by clicking the subscribe button or by sharing this video with fellow warriors of darkness. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.